Hello Hastings, I'm Tom Wright. Welcome to our studio and welcome back to part two of our chat with United Way of Hastings. Lots going on with United Way. If you missed it, I spoke with Mary Mellick, the Executive Director, to find out what's going on with this year's campaign. Now I welcome in studio Jane Newmiller-Boostad, Director of Connections for the Helping Kids Succeed the Hastings Way. Did I get that all right?
Yes, you did. Very good.
I'm impressed with myself on that one. And then we also have some teen key opinion leaders here. We have, beside Jane, we have Natalie Chapin. Yeah. And then we have, in the back here, we have Morgan Johnson and Gina Knoll. Welcome, all of you. Well, let's get some introductions here. Jane, starting with you, a little bit on yourself. Let's get to know you a little bit and how you became involved with Helping Kids Succeed.
Sure. My husband, daughter and I, moved to Hastings last summer, and I was looking for a way to get more involved in the community. Our daughter was going off to college, and we had lived previously in Stillwater. Was just very busy with her athletic career. She plays hockey. And after we moved, I wanted to do something that was more community-oriented. I have a background in marketing and training, and on Facebook, I found different groups related to Hastings and found the Hastings Way, and set up a conversation with then our director, Rob McMenemy, and the consultant for the project, Derek Peterson. And this was last fall, and then over time, Rob went on to other opportunities, and Derek asked if I'd be willing to step in and lead the initiative, and I was delighted to do so, and our big project on the table was getting our handbook published, so that's what we spent the summer doing.
Awesome, and that is one of the reasons why we are here. This fancy-dancy handbook, the Helping Kids Succeed the Hastings Way, written by Hastings for Hastings, and we're going to talk more about this. But let's get to know our teen key opinion leaders. Let's start with you, Natalie. Tell us about yourself and what grade are you in and how you became involved with this.
I am a senior here at Hastings High School, and I got involved with the initiative because teachers and counselors handpicked 10 of us. We're called the Magnificent 10, and that's how I got involved in it, in the initiative, because we all got handpicked.
Well, that's quite the honor, too. Magnificent 10. That sounds pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, and go back to Morgan. Morgan, tell us about you and how you got involved.
My name's Morgan Johnson. I am a senior here at Hastings High School, and I was also handpicked by mainly my counselor and teachers here at Hastings High School. So.
Cool. All right, and Gina?
So I'm Gina Knoll. I'm also a senior, and I also got picked by my counselor to join this group.
Great. Gina, you can keep the microphone there. Tell, what do you think so far about this initiative, and what have you learned from it?
Well, it's been really rewarding, actually, just knowing, getting to know everyone, and it's really helped me kind of open up to the community and kind of just join new things.
Awesome. And I'll pass it on to Morgan here. What do you think, Morgan? How's it going?
I've learned a lot. I've learned the pillars, if you will, to building a web. And we'll get more into that later, but really helping kids succeed. I mean, that's the name of our initiative, but that's really what we are trying to do. And it's paying off, and I cannot wait to see it pay off even more.
Yeah, exciting. Natalie, let's hear from you now. What do you think?
Well, this initiative is truly my life right now. I'm going in all different directions because of this initiative, and helping kids succeed in the initiative in my life, it's opened a lot more connections up to me, and it showed me the importance of having connections, and connections really do help you go places in life. And so the initiative opened my eyes to that.
Oh, that's great. And Jane, coming back to you, for those not familiar, what is Helping Kids Succeed the Hastings Way? Tell us about this initiative in a nutshell for those not familiar.
Well, 2 years ago, Hastings experienced a series of tragedies with teens, and there was really some concern about what was happening with the teens locally. And so a group of community leaders reached out to Derek Peterson. He was a colleague of one of those individuals, and they wanted Derek to come in and talk about what would it take to help all of the teens, all of the children in Hastings, develop more of a solid foundation. Derek has worked nationally and internationally in youth and child development for many years and has formulated this Helping Kids Succeed model, which we'll talk about. And really, the goal is very ambitious. Our goal is to build a web of support under every child and teen in Hastings. I believe we're the right size to do that. You know, we're large enough that we have a lot of resources in the community. We're small enough that people know each other, and they can get to know children and teens and provide that framework for them. And really our goal is to help those kids become as resilient as possible, and then to launch into adulthood with character qualities, with that support, with that structure around them, so that they know that they can go on and become successful.
Let's talk about the handbook now that just came out. Natalie, you have the microphone. We'll put you on the spot. Tell us, what is in this handbook?
In this handbook, there's from community members inputs about what they're doing for youth around Hastings, which there's a lot of cool things that neighborhoods, teachers, and stuff are doing to build webs of support for youth.
Yeah, I noticed it truly is a book by Hastings for Hastings.
Yes.
Because if anybody picks this up, it breaks down different, and let's go back to Morgan here. I don't want to explain this because you guys definitely do a better job than me. Now, what are some of the topics that are covered in here that we hear the community, give tips about and talk about?
Well, our model is represented by the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have taken our orange and yellow pillars and interviewed each bit of our community and asked them what they're doing to support our youth in these areas, which are intangible and tangible objects that they're supplying for these youth.
I see. And just for example, I was open to any page here. People skills. They talk about people skills, and somebody wrote, friends, and it breaks it down by what parents can do, what friends of the family neighbors can do, what school staff can do, what faith communities can do, youth programs can do, and as a teen, so it gets your guys' viewpoints. Really, I think that's probably the most interesting part of this book is the teen's perspective.
We thought it was really important to include that.
I think so. That's great. It's very smart. So as a teen, and for example, for people skills, the teens wrote, learn to laugh at myself and not take things too seriously, stay open-minded about people and new ideas, help others with their problems, and listen to what they have to say. So good stuff to hear.
It's a lot of wisdom from the community. We collected over 2,200 inputs, and about 900 of them ended up in the final book. And so we were really looking for ideas that were very practical, very hands-on, things, our ideas that anybody in the community could pick up the handbook, open it, and find just a wealth of new ideas that they could use to reach out to their own children, to reach out to the kids in their youth group, maybe the kids sitting next to them in the pew at church. They're not quite sure how to talk to them or not quite sure what to say. Hopefully they'll be able to pick up the handbook and get lots of really great ideas to do that.
And how can they pick up the handbook? Where is this available? How much does it cost? That sort of thing.
Yes, the handbooks are $5 a piece. Currently they're available at the United Way office. We are wanting to make them available throughout the wider community. KDWA will be having them available as one of our partners. We're encouraging businesses and other organizations to purchase a case. A case is $250, and there'll be 50 books in a case. The business or organization could then turn around and sell them to the community. They could give them away. We have a member of the United Way board, for example, is purchasing a case, and he's going to provide books to his customers.
Nice.
Just complimentary copies from him. And so it's a great way to try and seed the books throughout the community as widely as possible. We're also going back to our funding partners and making copies available to them at no additional charge, since they help to pay for the publishing itself. And then we're offering conversation sessions, briefings for every organization. We're happy to come in and do an hour-long presentation. We'll talk about the model, what is the Helping Kids Succeed model, talk about the handbook, and then open it up for questions and conversation. Because I find as I talk particularly to adults around town, they're very curious. They want to know, how could I connect with teenagers? I don't have teens, or my kids are grown. What do I say? It's almost like they're alien species. These kids are so involved in technology, and really, kids are kids. They just want to be.
You're not really aliens, are you?
No. They want to be in conversation. They want to be in relationship with adults, and so this is a way of giving adults some ideas and strategies for doing that.
Great. Well, I tell you what, you just talked about methods and this web of support we've mentioned. We're going to learn, you guys are all at home going to learn all about that here real soon. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have it a nice setup here. We have a whiteboard, and these guys are going to explain the model and show you how it's done. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Night, sweetie. Let's shut her down.
Oh, okay. Night, little love.
Good night.
Whoa, hey, Terry. Whoa, talk of the town. It's on. It's our time. Come on, scoot over. Scoot. All right. Here we go.
Popcorn, popcorn.
Popcorn's coming. There you go.
Thanks.
Okay, Tom. I think you're taking this best friend thing just still a little too far.
But it's our show. Come on, have some popcorn. And welcome back. We are all set up now. Jane and I are just going to relax. We're just going to relax here because we're going to put our key teen opinion leaders to work. We have Natalie, Morgan, and Gina about to show us and explain the model of the Helping Kids Succeed the Hastings Way. And so, girls, please do explain how this model works.
Well, our model is based on the rainbow. We give one essential thing to our web in each color. So I don't know how we want to.
It goes by Roy G. Biv. So when we'll be saying that, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet.
Colors of the rainbow, huh? Oh, the color spectrum? Okay.
A prism, actually.
Correct.
The prism.
Yes.
Okay.
So when white light goes through a prism, it breaks into the spectrum, the 7 colors of the spectrum. And so our model, Roy G. Biv, and they'll explain those, the acronym, it's reflective of the colors in that prism. And so we talk about seeing kids in full color, that no child is black or white. No one is all good or all bad. Kids are all a mix of, different gifts and talents and qualities. And the model really supports that for each individual child.
I see. Well, let's see this model in action. I know we're not here to play Pictionary here or play win, lose, or draw. So tell us, show us on the board here what you mean.
All right. Well, every single child needs 5 anchors, and that's our red. Anchors are adults who expect more out of you than you expect out of yourself. And really just push you to succeed and supply those tangible and intangible objects to you. And
All right, and then I have orange and yellow, and that is they are tangible and intangible. And tangible is what you can measure, so like houses and like people and stuff. And then intangible are things that you can't measure, like feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah, we actually have in the book a whole list of these. And so the intangibles, we really talk about character qualities that we would like our kids to have, like courage, humility, honesty, compassion. And the tangible strings, as we call them, those are things that we could, if we sat down, we could see, does each child have good food on the table? Do they have a roof over their head? Do they have warm, appropriate clothing? Do they have support to do well in school? So the more anchors that you have and the more strings that those anchors cast to those child, now we're starting to see that web of support form.
And how does, just out of curiosity, how does Hastings fare in this? Like, how many students, how many youth do have this web of support? Is it an issue here in town? Or what are you finding?
It is. We have a section here in the book. We talk about the number of anchors in a youth's web. And on average, nationally, about 40% of children, again, when I say youth, I mean children and teens, do not have what we would call the 5 anchors in their web. And we would say that the more anchors, the better. Each child deserves 5. And these, as the girls have mentioned, are adults that care for the child, believe in the child, believe the child is capable of more than they themselves probably think they're capable of. And so we encourage kids, once we talk about the model to teens, they go out, they want to go out and find more anchors. It's adults that we are working with, that we're coaching, to help them become anchors in the web. It could be parents. Of course, parents are great anchors, but we know in the teen years, sometimes that relationship gets a little strained.
Yeah.
And so if you as a parent know that your child has 5 other anchors in their life, adults that you know and trust, then it's a little easier to let go for a while. And as they get older, you get a little more, re-engaged with your children and become part of that web once again. So we could have, the 5 can change over time. It could be a youth minister, a teacher, 2 parents, a coach. Perhaps the parents get divorced, so now we have a single parent, a grandmother, a teacher, a friend of the family, an aunt. It's as long as we know that there are 5 around that child at any given moment in time, that provides that web of support. And we know, to circle back around, we know that up to 40% of children do not have that in any given community. Therefore, we know that in Hastings that would be the case.
Oh, no. Let's hear more. What else? Do you guys have more on?
Yes,
All right.
we do. Our next color is green. Green represents the balloon, and a balloon is basically how a child is born. It's what their character naturally is like. 10% of nationally, we have small balloons, people that just cannot grasp onto those strings regardless of whether they have 5 anchors or not. It's not very easy for them to grab that resiliency that's being cast out to them. 80% of our national community is a medium balloon. And so that means that they grab some strings, sometimes drop a couple. And obviously that's the average. And then 10% are big balloons. They're people that can grasp onto those strings without any problems. They're just born naturally resilient. And so
I want to note that that's a great explanation. I want to note that we're not colorblind here. We just I wasn't very well prepared with colored markers here. Although Natalie, I will say we did have a green marker there that you could have used for the green balloon. There we go.
And that's why it's important that the more anchors the child has, particularly if they are not maybe as naturally resilient, the more strings that they have in their web, the harder it is for them to fall through that web of support. So 5 is a minimum. More is better. Kids that tend to be a little bit, we could say larger balloon, are a little more naturally resilient. They may have fewer strings or fewer anchors in their web. And still, when we talk about falling through the web, it's this notion that as you fall through the web, you tend to engage in more negative behavior, more of a tendency to engage in drug abuse, to drink, to do activities that are probably not positive. We want kids to stay above that web, and the more anchors that they have, the harder it is for them to kind of push through and make choices that are negative because they know they have so many positive supports in their life. It doesn't mean that a large balloon kid can't fall through the web. They certainly can. Sometimes they have to work at it a little bit to get through that web. And it doesn't mean that the size of the balloon has no relationship to good or bad or positive or negative. And we know some of the adults that we've worked with have self-identified, hey, I was kind of a small balloon kid. There were people around me, they gave me lots of support, they gave me strings, and I just wasn't ready to catch them. So as I got older, my balloon grew a little bit, and I became more capable of catching those strings that my anchors were throwing to me.
Natalie, I hear you throwing markers over there. Are you getting mad at me about my comments here? Let's hear more. Let's hear more on your the model here.
next we have blue. And blue is the scissor cuts that can cut the strings that are thrown to you by your anchors. Here in Hastings, it's really common for divorce. Recently, we had a lot of suicides that really cut the strings between teens and their anchors. We have drug abuse. We have addiction, and
Blue is also risk factors. So drinking, doing drugs, smoking. Risk factors are what cut the strings that are tied to your anchors.
Interesting. Wow.
So again, more is better. If you
Yeah.
have more strings and more anchors, when scissor cuts happen, then your web isn't cut as thoroughly. You know, if you're going through a divorce and your friends are drinking and you have friends that are engaging in drug abuse, now those scissor cuts are happening more and more to your web, and so you may find it harder to stay above the web. You may be more tempted to engage in those negative behaviors In that case, you want more anchors. You
Yeah.
need to go find even more adults that can support you and provide you with that structure that you need.
Interesting. Gina.
All right, so the next color is indigo, and that is caring for the carers.
We definitely don't have an indigo marker on.
Yeah, but so that is like, so you have your web, and then you also have 5, like your parents, they need someone to care for them too, so they also need anchors to support them. Or like even just like people who support you, so like aunts and
Yep.
teachers and stuff like that to support them when they go through hard things like divorce or a child passing away or something tragic happening.
Yeah, we all need anchors. And it's interesting when we talk with adults, quite often one of their first responses when they hear about the model, they start thinking, well, who are my anchors? You know, who could I go and add to my web and provide me with the support that I need to then become the anchor for the young people around me?
That's a great point, because I think you're absolutely right. Adults still need anchors as
Absolutely,
well. Because
yes.
adults, you know, yeah, I think go through those moments. It's that's a great point. All right. Doing good here. Doing good. Morgan's turn? All right.
Sure. Next on the agenda is purple. And so purple, or violet.
Violet.
Violet is social norms. And so it's what your community and the things going on around you and how they define you. Like I said earlier, divorce is a really common thing here in Hastings. And so the fact that that is a common thing can shape how a child grows up with friends with divorced parents, or with anything like that. Another example that I really like to give is if you're walking downtown Minneapolis, it would not be super uncommon for somebody to whistle at a woman across the street. However, if you were downtown Hastings, that'd be a little bit more odd. And so the way of, or the attitude of the community and the environment that you're brought up in can really affect how you are as a balloon.
Yeah, very true. Derek has worked in some urban areas, for example, that experience a lot of violence. So even if you have a child who has 5 anchors, lots of strings, positive support in their immediate family or in their immediate community, the fact that there's so much violence in that larger neighborhood really would act to affect the entire web of support that that child has. So if there's things that we can do to affect community norms in a positive way, that really helps support the web for each child as well as the community in total.
I see. So good point there, not to just focus on the youth directly, but also indirectly and through the community. And
Absolutely.
having a positive
And I'll
welcoming
add
community.
on to that too. Community norms are also like a hurricane. They blow across your web and they really affect your balloon, because your balloon is one that just floats on top of your web. Yourself is on top of your own web. And if a bad community norm blows over, that realigns your balloon and makes your web blow up sometimes.
Yeah,
Great, great. What's next?
that's the
Oh, that's
model.
it. There we go. Well, let's draw a smiley face for the end there then. There we go.
It's really, one of the things I really love about this is we talk about consistently helping kids succeed as an initiative, not a program. Because this model, this web of support, undergirds a whole range of different programs that are already doing great things in Hastings.
Yeah.
So a sports team, this would apply to the coach and to the students on the team. They each have a web. We can strengthen those webs of support. It applies to kids that are involved in the classroom. It applies to a youth group at a local church. It applies to community theater. It applies to the workplace. If you're a boss and you have a number of young people working for you, you can become an anchor for them. You're teaching them as well as supervising them what it takes, for example, to be successful in the workplace. So it's just a really great, we're not imposing something brand new. It's a really great tool that I think a whole range of different organizations in town can use to strengthen their I shouldn't say products, the services and programs that they're offering to the young people.
If you had to narrow it down, for those teens that are watching at home, that might be watching at home, or parents of teens watching, what are some things that teens can do or parents can encourage them to do to become a larger balloon? Let's start with that. And then I want to talk about the anchors, how adults can be better anchors. But what can teens do to be a larger balloon, to be a more solid balloon that doesn't fall through?
a big thing would be to seek out anchors, people that can throw them the strings that they need. Another thing would be to go out and get involved and get introduced to more anchors. Join a sport that you've never done, join a club that you've never done, something that can introduce you to more adults that can throw you tangible and intangible strings that you can grasp onto and become a bigger balloon.
Another big thing is too identifying your own strengths and weaknesses. If you know what your strengths are, grow your strengths, and if you know that you're not so good at something, then let that be, and then that's growing your balloon, is identifying your strengths and weaknesses.
Just becoming more self-aware. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And then for the adults, how can adults that are watching, how can they be better anchors? How can they become anchors and be better anchors if they already are one?
Well, I think they have some ideas.
You got some tips over there? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there is a section in the book that actually introduces different things that you can do with your teens or kids or whatever to strengthen their balloon and be an anchor for them. I don't know
Oh, that's
what
great.
page
No,
it's
that's.
on,
I
but-
think that was very smart. Say,
Yep.
bringing it back to the handbook here, because
On page 174, we have a whole section on simple ways to connect with children and teens. And we wanted this to be as Hastings-centric as possible. And so they're really, most of them are low or very no cost or low cost. Things like play hide and seek, listen to children, stroll the cars at a Hastings cruise-in on a Saturday night. It's not about engaging in any one particular activity, it's being present. It's having that conversation with the young person in the pew next to you at church. It's becoming maybe a volunteer in the school or a volunteer for a sports team. It's showing up and attending the choir events and show choir and the plays, and just taking the time to talk with a teen, to ask them questions. They're amazing. We call them the Magnificent 10, and they really are. And when you really take time to just sit down and have a conversation, you'll find that there's plenty to talk about, and each of the teens has plenty to say and plenty to share.
Well, thank you all for sharing here today. I think this is a really educational show. That was very enlightening. And Natalie, great job on the smiley face, I gotta say. That was great. Again, for those watching, to get this handbook, $5, right?
Yes.
And available at the United Way office
Yes.
down on 2nd Street, as well as...
We'll have it available with local business partners.
Great.
And we're very thankful. We've had financial support from United Way of Hastings, the Ruth, Gail, and George W. Doffing Charitable Fund. The Hastings School District has been a supporter, the City of Hastings, as well as the Hastings Police Department.
Wow, yeah, so great team effort, sounds like.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to working with them in the coming year as well.
And we should also plug United Way of Hastings website, unitedwayofhastings.org, for anyone who wishes to find more information, and especially donate, right?
Yes, this is the start of the annual campaign for the United Way. They kick off in September, and we can't do what we do without them, and they support an amazing range of organizations throughout our entire community.
Well, thank you. So there you go, way to help out the community and help your youth, really, as you see here. Well, thank you again with Jane Newmiller-Boostad, the Director of Helping Kids Succeed, and also with our 3 of the Magnificent 10 Teen Key Opinion Leaders. And we have Natalie, Morgan, and Gina. Thank you all for coming in. And thank you all for you do for helping kids succeed, too. It's very neat. It's a great thing you're doing for your fellow classmates in the community. All right. And thank you guys for joining us and watching. Spread the word. Tell people about it and get to know this program and get to know this handbook. $5. I think it's worth the $5 investment there. And we'll see you next time.